The saga between Brian Pulido and Melinda's comics continues to unfold on Brian Pulido's Facebook page. Now, I do want to say that as far as Pulido and Melinda are concerned, the matter has been handled and it has been over. And just like Brian has said, please do not bug this woman. But for me, as a comic book creator, and as someone who is bringing the news to you, I do think this is something worth exploring. So, what we got here is Shintari Tanaka. Shintari Tanaka. And this is like a fake account, right? So someone who doesn't want to be publicly blasted. And I think that's fine. You know, in the world of the internet, I think sometimes we need to be anonymous, man. Anonymous. So Shintari says she's in the wrong, and so is Sean. Sean, and I can't pronounce his name. Hudakshio. I'm sorry, Sean. I'm just gonna call you Sean. He does the same thing, and no one bats an eye. He uses characters from Scooby-Doo, Star Wars, and Roger's Rabbit on his covers that he sells under the label Black Ops Publishing, making thousands of dollars off a character he owns no rights to. So, with that being said, we have discussed this before. We have discussed this on my live show the other night, which took 4 attempts to complete due to bad internet. We even showed my comic book covers where I did a cosplay of the ladies of the X-Men, right? So it's Niobe dressing up as Magic, as Psylocke, as Phoenix. And a couple people said, no, you shouldn't do that. But the majority of people didn't see an issue with it. And why? Because there was enough variation, enough change to understand that it was, more or less parody, which we'll get into here in a little bit. However, some people, though, feel like if you even come close to anyone's actual IP at all, that is considered infringement. So we have Del Guzman here. Says to Shintari, did you just make a troll account so you wouldn't get any backlash from Sean? And Shintari says, truth is truth. So, okay, yes, you did make an account so you wouldn't get any backlash. This is the same thing. Stealing is stealing. Making money off an intellectual property you do not own the rights for. So he goes ahead and shows an example here. Let's take a look. I know the screenshot is a little off because I got it centered for the post. But as you can see, we do got a Jessica Rabbit sort of vibe going on here. Jessie, the zombie hunter. All right. And now we got to scroll all the way back down to where we were. So here we go. Then we have this other one here. I'm not gonna click on these because again it will just reset us back to the top. But that's art by Greg Bo Watson featuring Jessie the Zombie Hunter and Jessica Rabbit cosplay, if you will. We got Jinkies, which was the Scooby-Doo parody. And we got more Jinkies. So he's showing several examples here, which is fine, which is good. That's what you need to do to get the conversation going. So Dell says, truth is truth, but who would take someone who's actually hiding, take anything you say as reliable? I mean, you're not understanding the laws at all, but hey, continue to do you. Shintari responds, nothing but hypocrites. We will see what Disney and Warner's brothers think about that. Well, what, Shintari, you got them on speed dial? You know, hey, Michael Eisner, well, I got some news for you, brother. Just wait till you hear this shit. Derek Nova says, Shintari, way to derail a thread into a personal vendetta. Regardless if it's happening or not, that isn't the point of the post. Dell says, how about you read the laws? Don't be scared to use your real profile next time. Nice reach, though. Russ Cassidy, a man who I know very well, says, until a publisher goes after an indie publisher for it, just assume they're okay with it. Well, I wouldn't necessarily assume that, but I mean, I think that sentence, Russ, I love you, but it's wrong, because if they really are serious about clamping down on this sort of thing, don't take a chance, right? Right? You're just going to assume that everything's okay. The next thing you know, you got a lawsuit at your doorstep. Maybe not the smartest idea. This has been going on for many years. So many indie publishers do it most under parody laws. Warner Brothers shut down a comic on Kickstarter, but didn't pursue further punishment for Power Ninja Tunes. They must not be too upset. Well, they must realize also that you can't get blood from a stone. Shintari says, you guys put out a witch hunt for this woman, but yet someone else does it who is a friend of yours, and it's suddenly okay. There is truth to that statement. Not necessarily like we put out a witch hunt for this woman. Brian Pulido certainly did. He wanted her name, her number, her email address, her place of business, like the list went on, right? Several requests he had. But I do find this common in comic books, right? Where, like, let's say someone really likes me. You know what I mean? They'll say, oh, yeah, Nyobi's the best shit I ever read. That's fucking awesome. And the minute that you have a falling out, it's funny how fast their tune changes. Oh, Nyobi, fucking garbage comic, blah, blah, blah. And I've seen it happen. I've seen people praise me when they liked me, and I've seen people hate the work when they hate me. So which is it, right? I don't think people know how to be honest with themselves, you know, at all. This guy continues to go on to say, you guys are a joke. Comics Elite does the same thing she did, and you have no problem with it. They use a character you have no rights to, slap them on a cover, clothed and nude, and that's okay. That makes a lot of sense. Well, you know, I think with Brian Pulido sort of blowing the door open on this one, that the larger companies might start taking a closer look. You know, if you're doing cosplay covers right now, may not be the best time. You might want to slow the roll on that one for a little bit. See how the wind blows. Dell says, what witch hunt? Waiting. So you're saying Brian Pulido shouldn't have done what he did? Everything you're saying isn't making any sense at all. Andrew says, Josh, he's saying WB shut down others, but didn't shut down PNT. Russ says, just a Kickstarter. They still sell the books at shows and online. Russ also says to Shintari, it's between the IP owner and the person doing the book. Anyone else commenting is just opinions. And we all know, and Russ isn't saying this, I'm adding this in, we all know what opinions are like. We all have one. It's like assholes. If Marvel, DC, Warner Brothers doesn't go after the person, of course, everyone's going to think it's okay. This is why we need clear-cut rules. Clear-cut rules. And this is what I'm calling forth upon the comic book industry. I want Marvel and DC, Dynamite, Boom, IDW, whoever, to come out with some sort of statement in regards to how they view cosplay covers and how they view that as a possible infraction/infringement on their properties. I would like a statement from these companies telling us exactly how they would interpret said work. If they give the okay, if they give the thumbs up, continue. If they say, hey, look, we know this has been going on, and now we're going to start taking a even closer examination. And if you cross, X lines, and I want a list of X lines, then we're going to shut you down and possibly take legal action. Shintari says, I'm not saying that at all, man. What Brian did was in the right. She didn't have the right to use the character and make money off it. What I'm saying is the industry is full of hypocrisy. Well, guess what? Guess what? So is the world in general. What are you going to do about it, right? You're going to lead a one-man crusade underneath your fake profile to fight the hypocrisy that you feel is happening? Well, good luck, because the world is full of that. You're in a never-ending battle, my friend. It's okay for Comics Elite to do the same thing, and there's no problem. Honestly, man, explain me the difference to what she did and what Comics Elite did. They use IP characters they have no rights to, turn them into porn characters, and then put them on covers and sell them to make thousands. What am I missing here? That's not parody. This is the gray line, right? To what is considered parody and what is not considered parody. And I do agree. Look, we did the Ladies of the X. We didn't, put them in porn positions or put them up nude. It was just Nyobi wearing their costumes, more or less. However, we did it to sell books, right? I did it to make some extra money, on books that we already done with new wrapping paper. That is absolutely true. I mean, as much as people are going to attack Shintari for some of the takes, some of them, in fact, are not all that wrong. I think the guy's riding on a 50-50 train here. You know what I mean? He's being responded to. There is a line between parody, satire, and homages versus blatant illegal ripping off an IP. Okay, but what are those lines? I want the comic book companies to tell me what those lines are in a social media post that's pinned at the top of their profile for all to see. What Melinda was doing was okay, and she could have just ignored Brian and kept doing what she was doing and even tell him to kick rocks, but she didn't because what she was doing was actually illegal. Well, there's a couple of different scenarios to that could be true or could be inaccurate. Maybe she had a lawyer tell her not to fight this. Maybe she didn't have a lawyer at all. Maybe she got scared of the power of Brian Pulido, and maybe she could have fought it, but decided on the better course of valor. We'll never know unless she speaks up. Andrew says to Shintari, people don't care if it's ripping off the man, but people generally care when it's ripping off mom and pop. Even though this is sentiment flip-flops around depending on the subject. The fact is that AI also adds fuel to the fire. So he's saying, some people don't care if you rip off from Disney or the big corporations, but if you're an indie guy like Brian Pulido, that's when, people start to care. I disagree. I think the law is the law. Okay, if it applies to indies, it applies to the big two and vice versa. And if we're going to hold one set of standards, then we should hold that set of standards across the board. That's my feeling on that. Sean did comment elsewhere, something along the lines that the line does get pushed and crossed. So maybe this whole business model needs to take a step back and check itself. I think that might not be a bad idea, to be honest with you. If it's Disney and Warner Bros. Deciding to check it, it might be able to make examples, not just taking bread off the table, but hammering, smashing that table to bits. Look, either it's okay to do, or it's not. I want a clear answer. Shintari says, what she did and what Comics Elite did are both illegal. So in his eyes, it's illegal. And keep in mind, I want to say this. I'm not a lawyer, neither are any of these other people. At least not that I can verify. The difference is Comics Elite is making thousands of dollars off and no one is saying anything. Everyone is turning their heads and acting like what Sean did is okay. It's sad. So this guy is, he's gunning. He's coming out. The guns are blazing. What she did and what Comics Elite did are both illegal. Okay, so we read that. So that thing got posted twice. Peter Gama says to Shintari, not to be confused with Shikari, what you seem not to understand is that, yes, both are using IPs that don't belong to them, but Warner Brothers, Disney, Marvel, DC have not come to the decision to go after companies who are publishing these parodies cosplay covers. Brian is extremely protective of his IP, as he should be, and does not allow anyone to publish covers outside of Coffin Comics. He found out, and he had his lawyers deliver a cease and desist to Melinda, which she knew she had to adhere to. Don't know why you're going after Sean. He has absolutely nothing to do with this particular Coffin Comics problem. It's because he's talking about the overarching larger problem of IP infringement. And that is something that needs to be looked at. I 100%, agree with at least that part of it. So Sean here, the man who's in question, the guy of Comics Elite, is going to answer the call here. He says, Comics Elite has been selling parody comics. Parody is legal. We have lawyers who review all of our comics before publication. If you read them, you know the difference. Jinkies is not Scooby-Doo. Jesse Zombie Hunter is not Roger Rabbit. If you read the comics, you know that. But I also made a ton of original content with other creators. Miss Meow, Death Rage, Born of Blood, Power Hour, Catfight, and more to come. What Melinda did was make a cover of Lady Death. She didn't even try to rename it or make it a parody. She also blatantly used AI and lied about it when she started using it. Max Fed, anyone don't know what that reference is. I only reply so that anyone following this can see I tend to ignore trolls and could give a shit about fake-ass profiles who clearly don't have enough courage to confront me, and you clearly made the profile to attack me under your real name. Shout out to the intelligent, smart, handsome people, which is me, who called you out before I got here. Sorry to Brian for this happening on his post. The thing is, regardless, right? Regardless if the comic book is, like he says here, Jinkies is not Scooby-Doo. If you read the books, you would know. He's not talking about the contents of the interior. We're strictly talking about cover image, right? Because cover image when you walk in a comic book shop or you're perusing Kickstarter, cover image is one of the first things that's going to sell you on that comic. And if you see something that you never heard of before, doesn't look familiar to you, you're more likely to pass that up than something you have an attachment to, like a Roger Rabbit or a Scooby-Doo. That's where this is coming into question. Peter says, thank you for giving me a clear, understandable answer. My attempt at explanation was jumbled mess of frustration to this numbnut. I in no way was putting you in the same category as Melinda. If you felt I was, I apologize. That's not my intent. Love how you've grown and what you've accomplished so far. I know there's more greatness to come. Bill Hawkins says, Shintari, it's a bad idea to point fingers at a business and say what they are doing is legal if you don't know for sure. You don't understand the Lanham Act. I don't even know what that is. And without the expertise, you're opening yourself to an expensive libel suit, homie. I doubt anyone's going to sue this man for having a hot take. Sorry, I just don't think that's going to happen. Also, the ghost account doesn't help you, as I can literally see the address you are posting from. Help yourself out and shut the fuck up. You know. Kim says, yeah, but what about other IPs? They said they could just stay away. I know where to get the hookup. Coffin Comics, FTW. And there was another take here. A lot of this is just, you know, sort of defending Brian. But this guy here, this Nicholas guy, he says this, and it's spelled wrong, is straight up bullshit. And here's why. Let me clear my throat for this one. A lot of capital letters here. Nowhere on that comic does it say Lady Death, and doesn't even look like Lady Death. And Shikari Artist does this all the time with Mary Jane, Cat Tins, KF characters in homage, Marvel, DC, etc. I think he means tons. Tons of artists are also currently have Lady Death art actually at their titles nude, selling online. And you all can Google and see it. About 6 currently being sold. So Brian goes out and sends a cease and desist letter to scare Melinda when she's naive and got scared and does this apology with every single artist out there that does this all the time on homage covers and on art books. We all know I can't stand Crooked and Whatnot Company, and it's because of nonsense like this actually, but Melinda did nothing wrong with that cover. What does this say about Lady Death? But yet she admits to it out of fear. Man, I would have just said see you in court. Here's the thing. Melinda Comics probably does not have the resources to fight Brian Pulido in court. Right? This comes down to money in the end. Brian, man, seriously, I get it, man, but I know there's many others that do this and I don't see you bark at them. But yet, when you see the girl on Whatnot does it, oh, here comes Brian, LOL. So big attack on Brian. And there's 173 replies here. 173 replies. And I think, you know, a lot of this is going to be trying to debunk what he says. I mean, obviously, we're not going to run through 173 replies. But, you know, Chris Enoch dropping videos here. DC Comics file cease and desist against AOC as depicted as Wonder Woman in new comic. Wow, I didn't know that. Tony Buck says, Chris, this guy's obviously trolling. He even tried to walk back what he said. Then tried to claim he doesn't do variants. That's a lie too. It took me all about 5 seconds to find all the things. A cosplay variant he did. This one kind of hit close to home. Yeah, so some people are going to be defending, you know, the use of cosplay covers. And why? Because a lot of people make their business off of this, right? And again, that's why maybe there does need to be a closer look. Now, people are going like, well, LP, you've done cosplay covers. Wouldn't that affect you? No, not really. We did it for fun. We did, you know, about $7,000. I may have got to keep about 3 of that after printing and shipping. And then there was the cost to get the artist to do the covers. But we don't make our living off that. That was just a one-off sort of thing. And maybe we do it again. But I want to make sure if we do it again, that, you know, legally we're okay and that we don't draw the wrath of the entire comic book industry. So these guys are still going off. Like I said, there's a lot to read here, but I would recommend going over to Brian Pulido's post and reading this stuff, and maybe it can help open your eye. You know, so here's like another example: the con artist stuff, right? Clearly, you know, sort of Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy imagery here. And this has just opened up a whole can of worms. I don't even think Brian Pulido knew he was going to open, right? He probably had no idea that this was just going to explode. And I think it should explode. I think, like I said, I would really like to hear from Marvel and DC on matters such as this. And, if they okay, if they're not okay in it. And what the line is when it considers to be, quote unquote, cosplay covers, man. And here's the update from Melinda. And I guess this is already gone. But she says, I made a serious legal error. I created and attempted to sell an unauthorized comic portraying Coffin Comics character Lady Death. This action was a clear infringement upon Coffin Comics IP. It was wrong, and I sincerely apologize. Furthermore, I promise never to again use any Coffin character in the name of cosplay or tribute for my own financial gain or for any other reason. So in other words, Brian Pulido is saying no to cosplay, period, and a story. And that's fine. I just need to know where the other major publishers stand on this. Let me know. Guys, let me know what you think about cosplay covers in the chat in this ongoing saga. And do you think this is the end of it? Or do you think we're going to hear more about situations like this going forward? This is LP, and we'll talk to you real soon. Peace.